Number Vine had curled up in a jungle pod, also crying her eyes out. It just isn't fair. It's not fair. Why did I even join here in the first place? Just to watch everyone suffer? Her sap-like tears had formed in a gray, vicious puddle beneath her at this point. Her sobs hit a crescendo. Suddenly she felt a branch-like hand rub her back. She looked up and saw number 74.239 looking down at her with a sympathetic expression. Gabe? I'm really sorry for that outburst. She was silenced by Gabe, placing a finger where her mouth would be. Shh. I know. This whole time of being here has been super rough on me. It's hard keeping up with this facade of being evil, and when all you see is happening is betrayal and manipulation, especially when you've experienced the same abuse as others. Gabe settled next to Vine as she sniffled once more. I don't think I could take this anymore. Not only did they brainwash you, Infinity 9 Lives, and Nigel. Vine squeezed her white eyes shut after saying that last name. But how Earth is destroyed as well. I spent so much good time down here and made so many friends in that planet, and now they're all dead. We have to do something. I can't stand seeing another planet get destroyed, especially since I've seen the effects on it as others. Gabe hushed her once again. Not so loud, they may be listening. But I agree with every branch on my body, he whispered. Now, how will we stop any more planets from being obliterated? Number Vine came closer to Gabe's ear. Here's what I think should work. As Number Vine whispered in the plot to Gabe, they didn't notice the surveillance cameras zooming in on them. Shortly, alarms sounded, startling the two. The hatch door to the jungle pod opened, and walked in Numbers Ordinal and Normal, grabbing Number Vine and 74.239. The two plant aliens were dragged down the hall until they were each tossed into a jail cell. Vine being tossed in the same cell as Chad, whose face had donned a worried expression. I thought you could pull a fast one on us, eh? Enjoy your new rooms, then. Normanel crackled before he and Ordinal walked off. Number 9L and Nigel had been watching the whole thing go down the other end of the hall. Nigel sighed. I can't take this anymore. The way these innocent kids are being treated is just too hard to watch. The boy's eyes widened as if he reached the epiphany. What if all these kids had their homes destroyed as well? He then heard number 9L let out a deep sigh. That is unfortunately correct, number 1, she said with a forlorn expression. The worst part is once their home is destroyed, they often start to lose their minds, but not in a crazy sort of way. More of sort of like a depression. They realize that their loved ones have been brutally murdered. It pushes them over the edge to the point where they just don't want to live anymore. The disturbing thing is, I've heard these have been multiple death attempts in the past, as well as incidents involving self-harm. Some of those who become the last of their kind often bring death unto themselves instead of waiting for it. Number 9L explained solemnly. Others persevere beyond the demise of their people, in hopes of either starting a new legacy all on their own. She pursed her whiskered lips for a moment, or to make a difference, while branding the status of their last kind, sort of like a badge of honor. Nigel looked like he was about to cry again, but he quickly felt a boost of courage run through him. No more moping. I'll show these extraterrestrials of what I can do. Number Vine sat in the corner of her cell, her expression contorted into one of defeat. She often looked at Chad for a moment, then looked out of the plexiglass window. I assume you're trying to free all those space kids too? Chad glanced over at the alien spider plant. A monotone expression plastered onto his face, and Vine nodded. Oh, on my home planet, freedom was basically a right of food or water. As long as I'm still thriving, I'm upholding that same standard. For all of us. She suddenly saw Nigel and 9L walking over towards them. I agree, with every bone in my body. It's time we began to set things right for these children, he said with a bit of confidence in his voice. He then snapped his fingers in the moment before a long, loud electronic beep sound was heard and a rumbling sensation shook the floor. Then all the cell doors opened up, and the kids came in, pouring out into the main lobby. Chad's handcuffs detached from his wrists as he, Vine, and Gabe quickly rushed out of their cells before an even stronger quake shook the mothership. A massive hatch door opened, sucking them all out into space. Luckily, Nigel and Chad's uniforms each had activated built-in space helmets and suits right as they got outside. Number 9L swam out to them as Nigel pet her forehead. Excellent work, 9L. The giant periwinkle feline frilled and nuzzled him in response. Just then the mothership began to vibrate before the glass dome on top opened up, and out came several tentacles, along with the 5 grotesque-looking dragon-like heads, resembling that of a hydra. Their eyes glowed crimson red as they let out a mighty blood-curdling roar. Who is responsible for this sudden insurrection? Snarled the massive beast in 5 voices. Many of the kids were terrified at this point, but it seems that some of them, including Nigel, Vine, Gabe, and 9L, had taken more than enough of the abuse and torment. That would be me, Nigel said, as with a quiet but serious tone, breaking the silence. What did you do to me and all these innocent children was inexcusable, deliberable, and sick. We will no longer stand for it. Alpha Zero was a bit shocked that the young boy was speaking to them. This is not what the Kids Next Door stands for. We fight to protect all the things to make childhood so great. Not adopt children or destroy their homes. And clearly you know nothing about being Kids Next Door operative, Chad added on, only for Alpha Zero to snap back. We'll abduct 1 million children before we let this organization collapse, and will not hesitate to destroy anyone who dares to stand in our way. So either give in or forfeit your lives. Suddenly a blast of energy hit the giant alien leader in the chest, knocking them backwards a little bit. It was number 9L who shot the beam from her mouth. We weren't scared of you, Alpha Zero, hissed over the oversized feline. Yeah, and we'll never be scared of you again. Number 1 and 274 are right. This isn't a tentacle, and we will battle for our rights if necessary. Your days of manipulation, emotional abuse towards the innocent beings ends now. Vine shouted, raising her thin, leaf-laced fists in opposal. The other space children exclaimed in agreement. Alpha Zero let out a snide cackle as Number Ordinal and Nominal appears on each of their sides and morph into the forms of what seemed to be 2 dragons, on one black and one white, both with markings of the opposite color. We accept your challenge. Crushing you all will be a breeze. Prepare to be absolutely annihilated. With that, the kids and the Alpha Zero all swooped on to each other, engaging in what appears to be the final battle. The battle, finally, to end it. Projectiles, flamethrowers, ice beams, vines, and a flurry of lasers and electric shockwaves flew from all the directions of the brawl ensued. The kids, Nigel and Chad, attacked by the means of either 8x8 weaponry or their elemental powers, where the area's bright beams were fired from Alpha Zero's 5 gaping mouths, and scorching crimson-colored lasers flew from the eyes of their main head. Their large spiky tentacles aggressively swung around in short bursts, swatting anyone at their range. Numbers, Ordinal, and Nominal shot hot streams of blue fire out of their fanged mouths. Several kids were injured, burned, or bruised, or disintegrated during the intense brawl, and yet they still fought for their lives like there was no tomorrow. Meanwhile, Fanny, Sector, V, Abby, and Cree had noticed the bright lights and flames from the moon base above their treehouse. Gee, it's like there's a whole war going out there, Hoagie said in a soft tone of voice. Number 1 must be out there, Coogie whimpered. Abby simply just watched for a few moments, then turned to face the others while taking a deep breath. We gotta help him. Wally turned to Abby with wide, concerned eyes. How are we supposed to fight against all that? Actually, it seems like the Galactic operatives are fighting against a giant Hydra octopus thing. Hoagie rubbed his chin as he observed a little more clearly through the telescope. I think number 4 is right, though. Coogie held up a spankler in her hands. We're going to need a much bigger and stronger weapons than what we have in hand. The kids all fought for a few moments before Hoagie smirked. I've got an idea. As the battle continued, several operatives have either gotten injured or disintegrated while fighting. Everyone else was scared to death as they saw their allies disappearing or being shot down. We're losing so many operatives. What are we going to do? Number 9L exclaimed before a gigantic object swooped over the crowd of operatives and swung around what appeared to be a giant wrecking ball on a sturdy rope, which struck Alpha Zero several times, and even Ordinal and Norminal suffered a few mighty blows. Nigel looked up at the giant object. It appeared to be shaped like a yo-yo with 6 sides. It also had windows in the center, along with cannons that resembled large water guns. Upon closer inspection, Hoagie wasn't the one operating the strange contraption. Nigel, I am your father, he said in a deep voice into the microphone before him. Nigel and a few other kids just looked at him in confusion. What? Nigel said. Hoagie just burst out giggling. Sorry, I had to. He cleared his throat for a few seconds. Anyways, prepare to get whooped, you galactic scumbags, he said before the cannons activated and shot fireballs at the giant monstrosity, hitting them square in the torso. So, you want to play rough, do ya? Alpha Zero hissed slightly in a demonic voice. Rough is what we bring in the party, fool! Abby shouted back into the microphone as she pressed the button, activating 2 more pairs of cannons, 2 blue and 2 yellow. Hoagie activated the ship's wrecking ball once again, swinging it square into the aliens' main others. Took this as an opportunity to resume attacking while Alpha Zero was vulnerable enough, simultaneously shooting fire, electric shockwaves, ice beams, and other elemental weapons. Number 9L gracefully swooped in a big circular motions, and scorching beam constantly firing from her maw towards Alpha Zero as Nigel rode on her back. Also attacking the colossal Hydra, using the high-powered weapon that resembled a rocket launcher. This went on for a few moments, before Alpha Zero's eyes glowed a deep red. They finally got the chance to defend themselves. One tentacle grabbed and attached onto Hoagie's ship, and the other glowed bright pink and swung it towards the 11-year-old in the giant feline. Number 9L managed to dodge the blow, trying to catch her breath afterwards. Phew, that was close. Right, Nigel? She turned around, only to find that he wasn't on her back anymore. Nigel? She turned around again, only to find the child floating idly, appearing to be knocked unconscious, a large bruise covered by the right side of his face. Upon seeing this, 9L's eyes widened, gradually filling her with colorful tears. Sector V looked out of the window at her former leader's motionless body in silent disbelief. He isn't dead, is he? He can't be, Wally whimpered, his hands trembling as tears threatened to swell up. Hoagie felt his heart sink when he saw his friend's unresponsive state, and then looked back up at Alpha Zero with scalding, angry tears profusely flowing down his cheeks. Now you messed up, he snarled aggressively, pulling the lever on the control pad, activating more guns and cannons to the ship, and pulling out of the tentacle's grasp. Many of the galactic operatives shared the same emotions, and suddenly proceeded to bunch together, glowing hues of green, blue, yellow, and orange, and various other colors, while Sector V, Cree, and Chad prepared to go to the full throttle, the entire ship vibrating as the cannons fired up. All at once, that the Hoagie's comet and a wall of galactic operatives fired full blast towards Alpha Zero, who had blasted a powerful beam to their 5 large maws in the counter-offense. It was so powerful that all these kids were knocked back a little. They struggled a good bit, shortly, but the giant blast they had made over the power of Alpha Zeros finally hitting them as they screeched in agony and fully died, sinking and disintegrating into nothingness. All the kids cheered and hollered as their evil overlord had vanished into nothing, never to be seen or heard from again. However, Vine and Gabe gestured him to simmer down for a few moments. I don't know. Don't think now is a good time to celebrate. Look. They all turned to face 9L, Sector V, and Hoagie's ship. They were all huddled on an unconscious Nigel, and as Hoagie and 9L slightly caressed him, sobbing quietly, Nigel, we're so sorry that all this happened. Please, please wake up. Hoagie then hugged Nigel, close as tears flowed down from his face. Kooky sniffled a little and hugged Wally, who was also on the verge of tears himself, and was trying his best to hold it in. After all the moments, Nigel's eyes gradually opened and let out a few coughs. Where am I? He weakly choked out. It's okay, number one. 9L smiled. We defeated Alpha Zero. We're finally free. And we're all still alive, Wally added in a softened voice. A meek smile suddenly crept across the boy's face as he sighed in relief and hugged a large cat and his friends. Thank God, but Earth is still destroyed. That was when Vine and Gabe and the other plant grass type children, as well as the aquatic types, all rose. We could fix that, Vine said, before she and the others rushed towards the debris of planet Earth and put it all back together. Then something happened that the Earth kids weren't expecting. The aliens began to glow blue and green, digging their roots and limbs into the charred soil. At first, nothing much was happening, but as the glowing colors grew brighter, the KND noticed something through the telescope. Earth was slowly starting to revive. All of the grass, trees, water, flowers, rivers, oceans, and so many other things had begun to grow back. Eventually, all the aliens had joined in. All the people and animals and other organisms were revived as they cheered and embraced each other in relief and elation. After an hour and a half of planet Earth was completely resurrected, and Sector V as well as 2 teens were permitted to fly back to Earth to see their loved ones. But not without Gabe and Number Vine hitching a ride. As the Hoagie's comment landed on Earth, Sector V, Cree, and Chad all exited the ship. Upon seeing this, Stacy, Delilah, and Maurice rushed down tearfully to hug their long-lost friends. Rachel, Tommy, Mushi, and the other parents made a beeline for their kin, embracing them like there was no tomorrow, and Bradley went up to hug Kooky and Hoagie. As soon as Nigel, Vine, 9L, and Gabe stepped out of the ship, however, everyone except Sector V, Chad, and Cree all froze. Then they all backed away in fear, some operatives even pulling out their weapons, although they were completely unaware of this whole situation. Vine and Gabe were in a quick rush to his defense. Please, please don't be alarmed. Number one here means no harm. You see, for almost a decade, our galactic organization was under siege by an evil and manipulative leader known as Number Alpha Zero. Gabe began to explain. He and his 2 guardians, Ordinal and Normanal, would pick several kids off of any planet they could get their hands on, and after several months, or even years of manipulating and gaslighting them, he would eventually pressure them into destroying their own home planet, Vine added, bowing her head. How do we know this? Well, the 2 aliens then shifted into their human forms. Lizzie and number 74.239. This caused everyone to gasp in surprise. Lizzie? Nigel's eyes widened behind his shades. Gabe and I have gone spying on the Galactic mothership for at least a couple of years, after multiple kids have mysteriously started going missing. And that's when we discovered the Galactic kids next door's true colors, and that the universe have been in grave danger. At that point, 9L walked up and nodded. So you see, we're not evil. We're just broken. And so was Nigel. All the humans looked at each other and then back at Nigel, who was trembling a bit. Please just give him another chance, guys. None of this was really his fault, Abby softly pleaded, gently clasping her hands together. Everyone looked around for each other once again. Some kids even started to mumble agreement before the whole crowd had begun cheering. Nigel had looked as he breathed deeply and smiled. He was finally free.
What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here.
I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video. And I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Ms. Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, stay pretty.